Hey, everybody, I'm Jason with Art Speak Creative. So glad to be with you. Here we're live right now. It's actually the pre-show. This isn't even the show. This is the show before the show. But we're so glad that you're watching this. And I'm here with the man, Andrew Errol, one of our
Hey, how's it going,
champions.
Jason?
Andrew, I'm doing fantastic. I'm all espressoed up and excited to talk to you, man. Maybe pull out some of the insights that you have about social media, specifically how to execute your mission online on social media. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. I'm excited to be having this conversation about getting into the mindset of doing ministry online, not just talking about it. As we're starting here in the chat, as you guys are coming on in, we want to know, because we're gonna be talking through all these different struggles. What's your biggest struggle right now with social media for your church? What to post? How to track success? How to use paid social? Is it even making an impact? Let us know in the comments. We want to know because we want to hit on what you're struggling with. We're excited about it.
Some of you right now are watching on Facebook Live, but I encourage you to jump over and click the link and register for the actual webinar that's about to happen because we're going to be listening in to those of you that are there, answering your questions in real time as we work through several of the hurdles that we all face when it comes to social media. We're all working from home, or many of us still. And we've dealt with those distractions. And we also want to figure out how can we use the tools of today. So click the link, jump over, be a part of the conversation with us today so we can answer those questions. We got some free giveaways as well and some fun opportunities, but follow that link. We've already got people logging in from Canada. They seem nice. We've got people from across St. Louis, across the country right now. Gift card giveaway, lots of fun stuff happening today, but you got to follow that link. Pre-show here going to last another few minutes, and then we're going to get started. Those of you watching on Facebook, that's going to turn off. Then we're going to go live with the webinar. But trying to get into the mindset that listen, this social media isn't just for awareness, right? So many of us, when it first happened, right, we came out like, let's get the word out, and we treated it like media, which is awesome. But we're also going to be learning today about how to treat it like it's social, like it's a place where you can build real connections with real people to help them with whatever your organization, for-profit, nonprofit, churches, business, whatever it is that you're leading. Maybe you're a speaker, a teacher, whatever it is that you're doing, ways that you can actually take and execute that mission online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. We're going to talk about Storyboard versus Bulletin board. Give me a nugget on that, Andrew.
Yeah, Storyboard versus Bulletin boards. It's going to be a part of that mindset shift where we're shifting from social media, not just being somewhere where you talk about your ministry, but you actually tell the story that you want people to be a part of. And not just the story of your church specifically, but the story of what Jesus wants to do in their lives and within your local community. So it's so cool. And there's actually going to be 4 aspects around that. We're going to be talking about that mindset shift first, but we're also going to be talking about content because, man, content's king's coming out of all of that. We're going to be talking about analytics, how to make sense of those numbers. What do they even all mean? Reach, engagement, whatever. What means I'm doing well, And then we're going to be unraveling the mystery of paid content. So those 4 things I'm excited to cover in the webinar today. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, here's the main 4 topics. Again, if you haven't already registered, click the link. We want you to be a part of this. How to get into that mindset of social media as ministry. We're going to talk about content, what, when, how, analytics, how to measure this, right? So many of us in the COVID era, no matter what our organization, we're like, how do I make sense of these new numbers? We're going to talk about that. Unraveling the mystery of paid content. So click the link, jump in. We will have a lot of great free resources for you, a lot of downloadable stuff. We're going to send some stuff out exclusively for those who are part of this webinar today. So go ahead and jump in. Biggest struggles. My friend, David Urzi, he says he's logging in from somewhere in the middle of St. Louis and Memphis. I've driven that road, David. There is nothing between St. Louis and Memphis. And I'm just giving you a hard time. Good old friend, David. Glad you're a part of this today. He says, I hate it, man. What do you mean biggest struggle? I hate social media. And I'll tell you what, there is a tension there, right? There is a tension there. I get it. That's just like, man, I've had enough. Or even right now, if you've watched some of the Netflix stuff, you've watched some of the documentaries that have been out, you're like, this stuff is being used in nefarious ways. I'm pushing myself back from the table. I don't want any part of it. Here's the deal. I I've heard people use words to tear other people down. I'm still a fan of using them to build people up. And so today we're going to be talking about how you can use social media to build people up, even if others are out there using it to tear people down. So click the link, join the party. We're going to get to a countdown here just in a few minutes, but do some giveaways. What about give me a little bit of insight. I'm going to tell you 2 words. Andrew, ready? Social volunteers. What do you mean by that? What is it? What's a social volunteer? Social media volunteer.
Yeah, social media volunteers. I mean, you don't have to do it alone, right? I've been a social media director for a church before, and I started out doing it all by myself, and I realized very quickly I wasn't covering everything I want to cover, and it's a lot of work, and I think we all know it's a lot of work. So bringing people in, giving them an easy objective that so anyone can opt into helping you, and then also developing their skill sets, developing it around a mission of telling the story of what Jesus is doing through them and in your community. You can have a team supporting you and your church and that mission ultimately, and it's a lot more fun together.
That's awesome. That really, David's actual question talks about, hey, if you want to set yourself up as a communications director, but you don't want to be doing the all the posting yourself, what kind of structure would it look like? Just give us even real quick, even if you're just watching on Facebook Live and you're not willing to click the link, here's something free for you. What would it be? What kind of structure? Just a simple structure for someone like David, wants to be a communications director, doesn't want to do all the posting himself. It's not his favorite thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you would definitely want to set up some structures so that way people know what to post. Maybe develop a weekly posting rhythm. I personally had a team called the Story Team, and it was super life-giving because anyone could join just by supporting our social media strategy of liking every post, commenting 2 or 3 times a week, and sharing 2 to 3 times a week. And that enabled us to reach more people and also give that social proof that your church is a church people engage with. It's worth engaging with. There's something special going on there, but then also developing their niches. So whether it was church online, whether it was scheduling out posts, creating graphics, or photography team, creating that content, maybe they're not doing it all, but they're giving you some pieces to get further down the road. It's a fun team to be a part of.
That's awesome. Hey, what would be one thing if somebody's watching? What is the easiest way to improve social media performance? Maybe something they're missing already today. What would be the easiest way to improve their performance if there was just one thing?
Yeah, if you're just going to do one thing, and we'll hit on it in the webinar. So I would definitely, go into the link, check it out, register, because we're going to get a little deeper into this, but it's engagement. Like no church is doing engagement 100% as best as possibly can. And it's something we all have to get better at. We're going to get into what does engagement mean, how to get better at it, but just responding to those DMs, starting conversations. You would do that in person, right? Someone walked into your church building, you'd say hi. So when someone follows us, we want to be saying hi, right? And starting those convos and getting them to where God wants them. So definitely engagement is the first step any church could do today to just get better at social.
Hey, I've got a challenge for everybody as we wrap up this pre-show. What is the best social post you've ever seen? What's the best? Let us know in the comments once you log into the webinar. What's the worst? What's the best? What's the worst? Let us know in the comments there. We're going to be giving away some gift cards today, talking about free resources. We're going to be talking about some downloads, some actual scripts, some actual copy that you can post. We're going to be talking about making sense of the online numbers. We're going to be giving you some guidelines on how to optimize your social posts and even unraveling some of that paid content history fog. So maybe you've got a best practices, best post, worst post, Andrew.
Yeah, my least favorite posts are just like when people post like the printout that they're going to have for the event, put in there with like no context. My favorite post, I'll do one that I didn't make. Anything with cats, man. I'm a cat guy. I got cats. So if you're a dog person, that's fine. I don't know why dog people have to be vehemently against cats.
It's not that I don't like cats. It's just that I love making fun of cats. All right.
Yeah. I get that. I understand. But I love both. But yeah, cats. My favorite though that I've ever made, I remixed for a sermon caption clip. I remixed the pastor into rapping what he said. I collaborated with the worship pastor on that. That was a lot of fun. That was a good one.
That's awesome. Hey, I'm going to share mine. I'm going to share my favorite and my least favorite inside the webinar. All right. So you got to click your link. We'll start there in just a few minutes. I want be a part of this. Log in, be a part. Let's be a part of the conversation. You can add some comments in there. Let us know you're watching. Let us know where you're watching from. And let's talk about this together. And we'll see you in the webinar, How to Execute Your Mission on Social Media. Hey, I'm Jason Bowman with ArtSpeed Creative. Welcome to our webinar. I'm here with Andrew Errol. He is our social media champion at ArtSpeed Creative. He's a guru. He's a Jedi. He's a knight in social media armor. I don't know what other titles he has, but Andrew, welcome Jason, to the webinar. I'm glad. I'm excited too, Andrew, and excited to have everybody here that's watching live. I would love for you to, in the comments, to fill out. Man, let us know where you're watching from. I'm here on the west side of St. Louis.
I'm here
Andrew,
in Fishers, Indiana, Midwest. Represent. Let's go.
Fishers, Indiana. Yes, we are I'm on the west side of St. Louis, O'Fallon, Missouri. Working from home, like a lot of people are these days. We're going to talk more about how you can do that and still, that's really the whole nature of this whole webinar, and still reach more people. So we've got a lot happening. Let us know if you're here, you're watching, where you're watching from, your name, what kind of organization. Is it a church? Is it a nonprofit? Is it a for-profit? Is it a business? Are you just a thought leader? Let us know what you're repping and what your role is. What do you do for your organization? Maybe you're the founder. Maybe you're the communications director. We'd love to give you a shout out. We also asked a question in the pre-show that we're going to get to here in just a minute, and that is, what's the best social media post you've ever seen, and what's the worst? I know for me, here's a fun fact about me as we get to know each other. I was in college when email was invented. Since then, I've had a little bit more experience online than I had prior to college. But I tell you, and over the church planter in St. Louis, and then after that, have had the privilege over the last 7 years to just consult some of the best some of the smallest, some of the biggest, some of the just the greatest hearted organizations, a ton of churches across the country about how to reach more people. So that's a little about me. Andrew, tell them a little bit about you. What's a fun fact?
Yeah, fun fact, I used to be an online pastor before coming here to Art Speak. And so it's not just COVID, that people have been doing this. Churches have been trying to execute their mission online for a while, and I'm super passionate about it. I know God wants to work through churches, not just in person, but wherever the church is at, wherever your ministry is at, whatever kind of work you're doing. He wants to use social media to reach people and also transform their lives right then and there. You don't have to wait for another convo. So I'm excited. It's going to be a fun day.
Yeah. And we're talking about executing your mission on social media. And here we are. Like, we exist to reach more people, and we're reaching some of you. I see already in the comments from Canada, from the Boot Hill in Missouri, from Fishers, Indiana, O'Fallon, Missouri. Let us know where you're at all over St. Louis. Let us know where you're at in the comments. And we'd love, Denver, Colorado. Good to see you, Brandy from Joy FM and Boost Radio here in St. Louis. Awesome. Daryl, awesome to have you here. Grace Place Ministries, awesome. Church Planner, Houston, Texas. Come on, Jared. Love to have you here on the call. Glad you're here. 4 things that we're going to cover today. How to get into the mindset of social media as ministry. I'm telling you, we're going to get into analytics. We're going to get into some other stuff. That's the number one. That's foundational. Putting on a new mindset that this is about ministry. This is about taking my mission statement, fulfilling it there, not just in awareness. Hey, we're about to do ministry somewhere else, or in a couple days, you should come check it out, but actually doing ministry right here online. We're going to talk about content. We're going to talk about analytics. We're going to talk about unraveling that mystery of paid content for you so that your dollars are more effective than ever before. So format, we're going to do some Q&A at the end, but we're also right now we're going to go over each of those 4 points. That's what we're going to talk about right here. So we are going to take a Q&A session in the middle of each of those topics. Little hint, we're going to do a giveaway for some of those questions. Our moderator, my main man, Jeremy Holstrom, logging in from Boise, Idaho. He's going to be pulling those. You can blame him. He's going to be pulling some of those. We're going to do some giveaways for best questions. So hit him up for some questions. We got some gift card giveaways that'll be headed your way as we do that. Also, full disclaimer at the very end, a super inexpensive opportunity for you to have Andrew or someone on Andrew's social media team do a full diagnostic of your social media, the social media audit, if you will, full diagnostic of you, one-on-one call, analytic. We'll talk more about it at the end, but just wanted to let you know that that's happening. Mostly we're here just to give away as much value as we possibly can, which takes me to what I said at the top in the pre-show. Worst post, all right, is more of a general category for me. All right, it's a general category. Join us. And there's nothing wrong with join us. In fact, I get it. I want to say that. But sometimes I just have made a rule for myself. Like, if I just say join us, then I'm not thinking enough. I'm not thinking hard enough about what the call to action could be that might connect better. And honestly, churches in my mind start sounding like, and ministries and businesses and we start sounding like a used car lot, right? Join us Sunday, come on down, free communion. And so I find myself wanting to push away from it. Join us, always join us. So, but best, man, is content. It's valuable content. Best post ever is good stuff. I believe in the Anthony Kiedis method of social media posts. Give it away now. Give value away in as many ways as possible. One of my friends in Centralia, Illinois just posted last week. He said, Hope City Church. Seth, if you're watching, great post. He posted, if it was your last meal and you had to eat here in town, where would it be? Oh my God, just lit up like crazy. People are talking about it days later, arguing over who's got the best burger. Just fantastic content. That was valuable to them. Doesn't always have to be superficial, but could be. Andrew, we're talking today about best, worst posts. We got a couple others in here that have spoken up. You've commented on some of your favorite Corey Edwards' best post ever was a live concert that was literally beautiful and sounded great.
Okay.
His worst, anything political. Oh. True that, man. We should just play the Star Steel Banner right now. Anything political, just stop it. You're not going to convince anyone anyway. So, best, Jeremy did a Mother's Day one with pink flowers that simply said Happy Mother's Day. Boom, mic drop, right? Worst, very generic slide you'd see used 1,000 other churches. All right, so it had 9 cats on it. That's an inside joke.
Cats are good though,
Andrew. So, that came from David. David posted that he loved Mother's Day. Sorry, that was David. I thought it was Jeremy. So, generic slide. He doesn't like the generic slide with cats. 9 cats hidden. The staff had to find them. Hey, listen, anyway, I digress about the felines. We're talking today. I want to jump right into point number 1, Andrew, for you. I want to get you started here. Mindset. When it comes to social media, we want to approach social media with a different perspective. This is a place where we can fulfill and execute our mission statement. A lot of church leaders watching, they can fulfill their mission on social media.
Yeah, for sure. This mindset, it's why we're hitting on it first. This is key because even if you just got into this mindset, you would be able to do the rest of these steps. You can find out information, right? But with this approach, this is going to help you actually provide value online from your ministry, from the work that you're doing. And it's a social place is a place to do ministry. It is a place to do the thing that you do. I like to think of it as a storyboard versus a bulletin board. So bulletin board, we talked about on the pre-show, that is a legitimate place. You put things there. This isn't a bulletin board. This is a place, it has social in front of that media where we get to interact with one another. So this isn't if list out all your events, great. I don't see a lot of people engaging with that. I know I don't. I'm scrolling through social and man, we're up against everything. We're not just up against, friends or whatever that you have on Facebook. We're up against Netflix. We're up against all these other organizations that are vying for people's attention. But we have the most important message there is about Jesus. So we want to tell that story. And we can't think about the medium. You can't tell a full story in just one post. So just tell one part of that story in each post. And you're going to see that storyboard come together as people start to see where they fit in to what God's doing in your community.
I love it. It really starts informing everything when that, right? So,
yeah, sure.
What happens, tell me what that means. If so, I've heard that said before. I've heard you say it before. It informs, social media should inform everything, but you just said, don't make a list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm saying that mindset, it informs everything that you do on social media. So when I say social media, go do the thing that you do. So if your mission as a church is to make disciples, go do stuff on social media that helps make disciples. Again, you're probably not going to have a 50-minute conversation in one post, right? But man, what if you could get someone to stop whatever they're doing in the middle of the day and start reading scripture, or to consider what God's doing in their lives, or take a moment to pray for their friends and family? Or even if you did a post about how, hey, just take 60 seconds, pray for the people in your workplace right now, or scattered all around. Man, and that starts to add up over time, right? It starts to accumulate. So whatever you're trying to do, start doing it on social, and that's going to inform the content that you create.
So speaking of content, with that mindset now, this is a place for me to bring my mission. Mm-hmm. What should we post?
Yeah, what should we post? That's the question, right? We asked before this webinar too, and I hear pastors all the time. I've felt this myself. What do I post? It's Sunday, Monday's tomorrow, the week's coming up. What do I post? And that's why we hit on that mindset first, because as you start that mindset, you start to think about what you can fill in. So your next step is to think about, man, there's so many days in a week. I want to post so many times a week. What can I fill that in with that helps execute my mission online? So, man, what are the questions you should be asking yourself when you go to post these things? You should be asking, am I telling stories from my church? Am I telling stories about specific volunteers? One of the best things I ever did was equip ministry leaders in my church with a script to get answers from people at our church. Take those answers, take a picture of them. You have a cell phone, you can do it. Our photography team's even better. We're going to talk about teams later on. And then share those stories. And man, people, that's got a lot of engagement because people are seeing real people, real photos of real people. And they're seeing what God's doing in their lives. I include the typos and everything because man, what God's doing in their life, you don't want people to miss it. So I can't emphasize that enough too. Use real photos of real people. Get a photography team together, even if it's a bunch of people with cell phones. Equip them to go take photos and get you that content of real people from your church.
I tell you what, that would compete with some of my favorite posts I've ever seen. Would just be a picture of a volunteer. I remember we had a cement truck driver who attended our church, but he was also a really awesome drummer. And you know what he wanted every one of his friends to know? Not that he was a cement truck driver, but he wanted all of his friends to know that he was a drummer in a rock and worship band. And so you get a good picture of him sweating it out with some cool lights. He makes it his profile picture. Now you have something that's helping not just tell your own story, but telling the story of the individuals who make up your church.
Yeah, for sure.
You're actually helping them do ministry online.
Yep. Yeah. And what's that? Disciples making disciples right there.
I love it. There you go.
Yeah.
And we can do that online, right? Engaging with opportunities for discipleship making online. I love it. What's the easiest way though? Like if you're like looking at over a church, you do a lot of the audits for our team as you go into new clients and would say, hey, okay, here's where we can add value. Here's what you should be doing. What's some of the easiest ways to improve social media performance that maybe some of those that are listening are missing?
For sure. And this is something you guys can do today. You can do it like during this webinar, even if you want to. But to get there, we're going to actually do it together a little bit right now. So we're actually going to complete a meme together. And this isn't the whole thing. I'm not telling you to go make a meme. But you're going to take a look at this meme. It's going to be about the best way to invite people to your next event. And if you heard Jason earlier, he really loves posts that are join us. Join us, join us, join us.
That's one way. That's one way to get someone there.
So we want you to get this out of your system right now with us. We're all going to get it out together. Go ahead and type in what should be at the bottom there. So it goes join us, and we're getting bigger brain here. Can't wait to see you. Okay, so you're going to see them. It's not just, join us. It's about them a little bit. Your presence at this event will be a blessing, not just to us, but to your children and your children's children. You're getting a little more intricate there. And Jason, we can fill this in before we start getting some answers from people. I would fill this in. This is my favorite type of post. The ones that are like guilt trips. If you hate God, keep scrolling. But if you love Jesus, like, comment, and share this post and join us this Sunday. Heart emoji. That's how I would fill it in. How about you, Jason?
Stop it. Okay, here's mine. You ready? Join us. But hold on. Stay with me.
Okay.
With 3 exclamation points.
3. Okay. So not just 2. But
right, not just 2.
With 3 exclamation points.
Because we really mean it, and we want people to know that we're really excited.
Yeah. Well, that's powerful. I feel that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I'm seeing Sarah Horn. She's saying she would just put Chipotle exclamation point. That's one way to do it.
Yeah. Or queso. How about just queso?
That gets in the Qdoba versus Chipotle debate, and I don't know if we want to go there, but Chipotle is the way to go for sure. But man, that meme kind of highlight, or just 3 exclamation points. All right, core authenticity, 3 exclamation points. That's awesome. All right, cool. Well, yeah, you can take those memes and do some fun stuff together. But what did we just do? What did we just do filling that out together? We did engagement, right? So we didn't just, I didn't just put a meme up and keep talking. I invited you into the conversation, and I gave you an easy way to do it, an easy, quick way to do it. So you didn't just have to, think super long and hard. You can just go right away and type it in. Prompting engagement, priming that pump is the easiest way you can start leveling up your social media right away. Okay, we got one from David. All eternity hangs in the balance with your attendance or lack thereof. That's even better. Okay, so you guys can keep giving answers if you want, but what we just did was engagement with one another. So engagement with current followers is the easiest way to improve your social performance that just about every church can get better at. I know I can get better at it. We can get better at it. Even, the churches that are just killing it on social, Elevation, Life Church, they still are always focusing on, that's the one thing I see them, building up and more engagement with others. So what's that look like? On Instagram, DM some screenshots of a story, the question and answer feature. On Facebook, ask some engaging questions. I'll give you this real quick. Here's a post you can just do right now if you want. I won't tell anyone I gave it to you. Caramel versus caramel. How do you say it? How do you say caramel? I typed out caramel or caramel. That's the most engagement I've ever gotten on a post. Like all these deep spiritual posts, that's the one, 400 plus comments. So I was like, all right, see where your priorities are. But man, prime that pump of engagement, because that's going to get you into some deeper engagement. Because what would you do at a small group or a huddle, right? You wouldn't just start out, go super deep right away, right? You'd do like a little game together, or you talk about, man, your favorite movies or what's going on in our lives. Same thing on social. Make that part of what you're doing. So just like we're saying, you're making disciples through small groups. Take that onto social media. So polls, question and answer, comments on comments, posts that drive engagement. That's the stuff that we're talking about.
I love it. And let me just clarify for those watching. I know many of you already get this, but that word engagement, right? At one level in my mind, it means likes, comments, and shares, right? But at another, we're talking about doing ministry. We're talking about bringing real relational connections onto social media. And I think of the time when I was a young adult, single, headed into actual church, and there was a young adult and she was attractive. And then one day she called me to get me to sign up for an event. And I remember thinking, I just need to keep her in a conversation. Then maybe another conversation, and then maybe another conversation. And sure enough, it was like the worst segue ever from, will you sign up for this event? Are you going to be there? Then yes. And to, so what do you like about today? I don't remember what it was, but I knew if I could just keep her talking today. Ultimately, it did lead to an actual engagement, and then marriage and 2 children and a life of bliss. But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about real relationship, getting into a real conversation with people. That's where, to me, caramel, or the appropriate way of saying it, caramel, is absolutely as spiritual as what are your prayers for this week, because it's an actual conversation with actual people.
For sure.
Yeah. Any other ideas, Andrew, for specific ways that we can do those?
Yeah, so I'll just give you real quick, because there's so many different ways you can do that. I already gave you, a quick one, so tuck that away. Caramel versus caramel, saying it correctly with caramel. But there's 5 ways to here's quick 5 ways to utilize Instagram stories, because this is really where I see like no church is doing this like that, super 100% well. I know this is where I always find more opportunity for myself to get better. So 5 ways to utilize Instagram stories real quick. DM screenshot strategy. So screenshot some DMs. I don't know if you heard me earlier. If someone walked into your church building, you wouldn't just ignore them until they say something, right? You would go greet them. We have a greeting team. We have a parking lot team to make sure that whole experience is great. So maybe yourself or your awesome volunteer team, have them ready for people that follow your church on Instagram or Facebook. Send them a DM. Hey, we're such and such church. We're passionate about this and our community. Is there anything we can help you with? Start a conversation. But then as you're getting those conversations going, whether through that or elsewhere, screenshot some of those, blur out the privacy stuff, and then go ahead and share that to your Instagram story, because it's going to do 2 things. Show social proof people engage with you, then also prompt some more conversations using Q&A. So this is a really big, easy one. You could do this right now. Think of your sermon series from this past Sunday. So our sermon series right now at the church I'm at, House Rules, the bottom line was your priorities pave your path. It'd be awesome if everyone latched onto that, right? So one way you can think of your storyboard on social media, getting people into that story, is ask a question that makes, helps people live into that story. So I could ask something, maybe lighter. You're driving. What's something that can happen to take you from 0 to road rage? And that's going to start developing conversations about paths, about driving. But then maybe later in the week, you ask a more serious one. What's one obstacle you're facing on the path God has you on? And then you can start responding to someone. Even if it's just 1 or 2, respond to every comment. You wouldn't ignore someone in person. So don't ignore them on social media. Then 3 other quick ones real quick. You can do some behind the scenes stuff. So you're setting up for Christmas maybe. I hope you're thinking about Christmas already. Or you're setting up for something else. You're setting up for Sunday, behind the scenes. Day in the life of Sunday attendee. I love equipping people in my church, saying, giving them the keys of the kingdom. Here's the login for social. Maybe set up a temporary password. And saying, document your day, what it looks like to be a part of our church. Because what's that do? People, 1, get to meet someone new in the community that are already part of your church. But 2, someone who might be checking out your Instagram, have them tag the location, they're popping up. Wow, this is what it's like to be at this church. It takes away, because, man, a lot of people I know, I've felt this, even visiting a new church after being a Christian for a long time. it can be intimidating to walk into a new church. So you get to see the actual process. Maybe you get to see some local community stuff where they get coffee before church, whatever it is. Then just for one-off funny content. You can do it that way. We did a meme earlier. Go ahead and have some people do some fill-ins for some memes, but that's just 5 quick ways. You can utilize Instagram stories. You can do that today even, or right now, to start getting some more engagement.
I love this because content, man, it's key to really great conversations, that engagement that we're all after. And we've been talking just now, you've been keeping us on that topic of really internal content, the content that we're producing. And I believe the organizations that I know that are logging in here, that I see in our comments, and those that we represent as our clients, they have the best content in the universe, man. It's life-changing. It's world-shaping. This is great content. And if they would give that away, man, it's going to be great. But tell us also about content or themes or timeliness of stuff going on in the world. How do we use social media to engage our content with what's happening out there?
For sure. Yeah. And again, it goes back to that mindset, right? If we're doing ministry online, just like we would on like a Sunday, we wouldn't ignore, hopefully, what's going on in the world, whether it's election season or there's a pandemic going on, or, maybe something just funny happened. We have an opportunity to do something fun on a Sunday. We wouldn't ignore it, right? So don't ignore it on social either. So, funny stuff. I don't know if you remember the blue or gold dress. It's blue, obviously. If it's gold, there are eye doctors out there, but that was a big, everything was on it. Everyone was like, is it blue or is it gold? Laurel versus Yanny, same thing. I did a post about that, but ask people to engage in that. Just ask people, is it a blue or gold dress? That's a fun way to lean into the timeliness of content.
Yeah, just don't be cringy, right? That would be the thing I would say. Don't try too hard. Don't push too hard. I know some friends of mine up in the Pacific Northwest. What they did was they started a fun talk show with just some super funny people from their team and told a bunch of inside jokes. And they were just being funny and fun. And that was in response to COVID. They said, look, everyone else in the world, we're all stressed. We get it. We're going to just log on and be funny. And they were funny, and it was fun. So I love that.
Yeah. And what a ministry that is, to be able to give some people some comfort during a time of stress.
Yeah.
But beyond that too, you can lean into local timeliness. So what's important to your community? Maybe it's your church community, or your faith community, the lead pastor's birthday. That's a big one. It's so easy. It comes up every year. You can schedule it a year in advance if you want. Get a picture of the pastor. I put some confetti on the graphic, and then everyone's wishing pastor happy birthday. Because that's people connect with people, right? So it's okay to talk about your lead pastor. It's okay to talk about real people. Or you could do a giveaway. This is one of my favorite things I've done before. We've partnered with local businesses to do a giveaway of like a gift card or some sort of thing to their business. So I partnered with a local coffee shop, and I asked people to like, comment, and share the post. Take some friends in there, and that's all you have to do to get entered. Bonus if you share a story about the time you had coffee with someone. Anything to do with local businesses. It's just a great way to highlight your community and get people involved.
I love that. To me, that's such a great illustration of this whole topic, right? Doing ministry, fulfilling your mission online via social, because I think of I'm anything you can do ever. That's the general on social media or in real life, anything you can do to come alongside and celebrate what other local businesses are doing. Like my friend I mentioned in Illinois that did a post that just said, what's your favorite restaurant? Well, that just generates business. It generates attention and opportunity. And then those local business owners and everyone who works there sees that and says, wow, here's an organization that's celebrating us or creating a platform for us to tell our story. What if our story as thought leaders wasn't just about us, but it was about the others in our community? I love that. I think absolutely you've nailed it right there, Andrew. I love it. Yeah,
for sure. Because that's what Jesus did, right? Like you were saying, he empowered others to tell their story and connect it to the kingdom. And one other way you can do this too, again, I mentioned at the start, the series, right? Like if something's going on in the world, it's election season, there's a pandemic, whatever, you wouldn't ignore it on a Sunday. And in our case, you can ignore it right now. We all had to do a little bit of adjusting, whatever type of work that we're doing. But maybe, if it would have been weird if you just completely disregarded that, right? So you might need to do that with your social content as well, not just talking about it, but also maybe you need to pause something, on your social content. You had some stuff scheduled, you're super excited about it, but maybe now is not the time for it if there's something serious going on and you need to address that instead. So maybe you need to pivot. You're doing ministry online, so don't act like the world doesn't exist.
Absolutely. Hey, well, speaking of some timely content, it's time for our first giveaway. If you've been commenting, you've automatically been entered in to win a gift card. I should know what we're giving away, but it's a gift card. It's a card that's a gift. All right. And Chick-fil-A, Starbucks. These are a few of my favorite things. So awesome. We're gonna go ahead and the giveaway winner number 1, David Erzy. David, he was an early commenter on this. I think in the pre-show I made fun of where he's from, but he's always posting. You got to find David. If you like pictures of Big Bass and ministry, then you got to follow David Erzy. But you get a gift card, David. You're Davey. We'll just call you Davey Erzy from now on, David. And but you're winner number 1, and that's cool. We're so glad to have you a part of this call. Keep that going. We're going to keep doing those every few minutes here. Want to keep on this content thread, though. Okay, I want to keep on this content thread. There's a lot of great content out there, but it can also be a lot, right?
Yeah.
So where do you get it all from? We've already got a sermon that we're producing. We already got the youth groups going over here. Or we've got this big event that our organization's getting ready to do. We've got a trade show coming up, or I've got this message where does it all come from?
Yeah, for sure. There's probably something, and you just said it, Sunday sermons, right? There's probably something, whether you're a church, you're a business, you're an influencer, whatever it is that you do regularly. That's like your main thing, right? So we're not talking about, man, do a few more main things. Do another Sunday sermon you could one week if you want, but man, you already have something awesome going on. You have a great message. Pull out some pieces from that and take it out throughout the week. So man, if you preached a message on Sunday and you want people to get into the mindset of not just coming to church on Sunday and then, not doing anything about it throughout the week, but you want them to actually take that message and live it out through the week, encourage them to do that. Do some posts that draw them into that story. So where do you get your content? You can get from 2 primary places, the programs and the people. So the programs, like we were saying, Sunday sermon, current series. Maybe it's the direction your church is heading. You do have some events coming up. You can do some creative content around that. Or maybe it's your community. You have people that gather together regularly, tell their stories. But then also there's the people. So within those programs, the Sunday sermon doesn't happen on their own. There's a lead pastor, there's a teaching pastor, there's someone, expressing that message in some way for the work that you're doing. Tell their story. You can get content as well through these people. So maybe you have a graphic designer, maybe you have a videographer. That's awesome. But also one of my favorite ways, and the way that you're going to scale this and get bigger and tell these stories in a more meaningful way and in a regular way that doesn't, burden you, but actually uplifts your community and yourself, is developing a volunteer team. So I shared a little bit about this earlier. I created a story team where I empowered people to come around the mission of telling the story of what Jesus is doing in our community and in the life of our church. So that's pretty broad, right? But then within that team, we had niches. So photographers, church online, writers, whatever it is. We developed a church blog. Empower people to use their niche, but also let it be anyone can join the team by, liking, commenting, and sharing your posts in whatever rhythm you come up with. They might not create the final product, whoever's on that team, but they can serve up that content. So either you or someone else on that volunteer team can take it to the finish line, get it on social. And then also there's just other volunteer teams, right? There's other volunteers already at your church. Maybe you're a smaller church or you're a smaller organization. You don't have the time or the bandwidth to create this whole other social team. You don't need to. Just empower the people that are already serving. So like I was saying earlier, if you want to tell some stories from your church, you just need a few pieces of information. So ask the questions, write them down, Google Doc or something, get that to the ministry leaders or the volunteer leaders. And then they can choose people. Oh, you know what? Greg does this every Sunday. He's a great part of our team. It would be awesome to share about him. All right, cool. Can you connect me with Greg? Let's get a photo of him, ask him these questions, and now share his answers to that question in a way that tells a story in a post. So literally copy and paste it, put it in the Facebook post, put it in the Instagram post, and a picture of him. Now you're telling a real story with real thoughts from a real person.
I love that. I absolutely love it. So once you establish those patterns and rhythms, I love talking about those are very practical ways to get it started. How do you keep it fresh though once it's going, once these teams, you give them good guidelines to getting the team started, but then how do you make sure that it doesn't just seem like the same old?
Yeah, for sure. And like I hear a lot of people are like, okay, if I'm doing a quote twice a week, I'm doing a scripture post twice a week, I'm doing this, then they're just going to feel repetitive. And that's where I like to talk about a thing called consistent variety. So consistent variety, you're consistently varying it up with what you're doing. So you have variety in the formats and in the post types, but you're doing a certain type of content. You're pulling from the same content bucket each week. So maybe you are doing quotes. Let's say you're doing quotes twice a week. There's some, at least probably 2 good quotes from your main piece of content, the Sunday sermon, whatever you got going on. You don't always have to just type, put that over a picture of the pastor. That's probably what most people think of right away. You can do animated caption videos. You could just type it in a way that's contextually relevant to the platform you're on. So on Facebook, literally one of the most popular posts I did was a quote from the pastor about loving God, just text in Facebook, because that's going to disrupt the feed. And we talked about this a little bit. You have to capture that attention. If you don't even have their attention, no one's going to be able to engage with the message. So you're trying to do different, variety in the post that you're doing to keep it fresh. So that way it's not repetitive. But also, besides the format, you can also vary it up in the post types. So go for fun, go for engagement-based, the caramel versus caramel. Do some quotes, but also you could do some stats about what's going on in your community or maybe around faith or a topic you're talking about. You could hit on some pain points. Man, you don't have to necessarily give the answer at the start of the post. Hit on some pain points that are leading to the problems that you want to solve, and then create some conversation around it. Celebrate some stuff. Celebrate some wins in your community. Celebrate the people that are doing stuff in your community through your church. And then even discipleship opportunities like we've been talking about. Take that time to let someone engage in a spiritual practice in the midst of their day.
I love all the variety too, because that's isn't that human, right? We all we all have all of those things active in our life, and we all relate to different things at different times and different places. And I love, I know that there's going to be some asks. We're going to, any organization is going to want their audience to do a few things. I always recommend people then add about 3 times that many other just inspirational, fun, connecting types of posts per every ask that you're going to make. But that's a lot of posting. You've just given us a lot of great insight for posting. How do you post it, Andrew? Where do you post it?
Yeah, for sure. And the kind of the driving idea behind this is, think about this. You have to optimize your content. So what do I mean by that? Basically, it's just asking yourself and thinking through, when I post this, where's it going to show up for the majority of people, and how are they going to receive it? So in most cases, and I'll just kind of go right for the answer here. Like, there's a ton of conversation you have around this. I'll just kind of go right to it. Most things you post people are going to consume that on a mobile device, right? Most people consume stuff. They're not sitting down at the computer. They're like, all right, time to crack open Facebook. That's not how most people consume stuff today. Some people do. I have Facebook up maybe during the workday. It is my job, so no one can get mad at me. But most people are pulling up on their phones, maybe even during your Sunday sermon, right? So take advantage of that. It happens, right? I do it sometimes. Sorry, so think mobile first, because that's where most people are going to consume your stuff. But then also, what platforms do you post on, right? I'll just say this really quick as well. And again, if you want to have a conversation after, reach out. We'd love to talk more. Facebook and Instagram, I think, is where most churches should be. That's where most people are. 58% of adults are on Facebook actively. So that means they're not just, having an account and tuning out once in a while, checking in. They're on Facebook most of the week, and checking in at least once a day. So take advantage of that. Same thing with Instagram. You reach a very large age variety in that way as well. Focus on 1 or 2 platforms and get really good at it. Don't spread yourself thin. So focus on those 2 is what I would say. And then if you want to get into optimization, we actually have a link to how to get people to actually look at your social posts by optimizing them. So that's going to give you kind of all the details. Jeremy's going to put a link in the chat, and we'll also be sending out an email with these resources. It's on our website under resources, but how to format your posts for people to actually look at them. The quick answer is 4:5 aspect ratio for Facebook and Instagram, 16:9 for Facebook, 9:16 for stories. You might hear that and be like, wow, I don't care. What does that even mean? Go check out this post. It'll help you out. That's the way to do it. And here's just one pro tip too. Most people watch video content with the sound off. So make sure you are thinking about that. Again, this is all about thinking about people, how are going to consume the content. So if most people consume stuff with the sound off, let's be honest, we've all watched a video, in the restroom, or maybe, a ton of videos, and then we're stuck there. Go ahead and make sure you have some sort of captions with that. And there's some ways that you can do that really easily with Facebook, or use rev.com, but optimize for that for sure.
Yeah, and I love what you're talking about, thinking about where people are, and you mentioned Facebook and Instagram. I think those are two different places also. And I think you talk to some people differently. If you're at the courthouse, you might talk to the same person as a friend in your living room, but you can have a different type of tone. So this is just me. For me, when I'm talking to people on Facebook, I'm thinking about mindset, right? Ministry's mindset, understanding their context. I feel like I'm talking to my friends. I'm talking to a general, like if I had just walked into a big party, that's how my brain is going to talk on Facebook. Instagram, I'm actually thinking about my entire community. I'm thinking about if I was to speak to my whole culture around this topic, here's more of what I would say. I'd still want it to be me. I still want to be myself, but I'm thinking about those two different contexts. That being said, Andrew, what about like some of these other emerging platforms? Twitter, I wouldn't say is emerging, but it's been around. But what about other emerging platforms like TikTok? What about some of these other platforms?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm trying to give you just like the straight to the point. Facebook and Instagram, that's where most churches should spend their time. But everything we talk about today, make sure it's fitting your context. So there's no one size fit all. There's a size that fits most, but not everyone, right? So real quick, if you're going to use Twitter, TikTok, for TikTok, if you're trying to reach a younger audience, for sure, be on there. I would recommend, if you're going to try it out at your church, because you can test anything on social. That's what a lot of it is. Go ahead and let the youth group do it. You can even empower their students to make some fun videos. But the big thing for TikTok, if you're just going to like the quick hacks to get reaching people on there, leverage current trends on the app. There's a lot of different dances, a lot of different songs, a lot of different trends that happen every week. So, and maybe you don't know those. Again, ask a person in your youth group or something, or someone that consumes content on that app, to let you know what the trends are. And then use hashtags that are going to help reach it, because one, it indexes by music and it indexes by hashtag. And the nice thing about TikTok is you don't have to have a huge following on there to reach a ton of people. Most people consume content on a page called the For You page. So that's where stuff's just getting served to them based off what TikTok thinks they'll like. They don't have to be following you. So that's nice to take advantage of. Instagram Reels is very similar, but it's 15 seconds. So you can actually do that if you already have an Instagram. You can lean into that, get that little extra reach. And then Twitter, for me, and again, this is just my opinion, for most churches, I think it's a waste of your bandwidth, because really Twitter is a place for conversation between individuals. There are individuals engaging with brand. Everyone loves, Wendy being a little spicy with their hot takes. But not every church is going to be able to do that with the same results as you would on Facebook and Instagram. So don't waste the resources that you have, your time, your bandwidth. But maybe your pastor has a strong personality. Maybe empower them to use that. Or if if you are an individual doing work for your ministry, Twitter might be a good place. And what you want to do there is go find the conversations that are happening and leave relevant comments to take the conversation further.
Boom. I'd recommend that almost on any platform, especially Twitter. But those of you, I know I've got some friends on here that are thought leaders, and you're very good at producing lots of content. Maybe you're even posting it to your own blog. Man, lean into Twitter. Great way because Twitter loves showing those links off. So I would say, keep producing that content. And I love what Andrew just said. If you didn't catch that, go in and engage with other people's content that's similar to yours. Comment on it, add value to it. Talk about a way that you could come alongside area businesses, others in your area, just to be known as the one who's always bringing encouragement. So as we wrap up this content section, we're going to talk about how to track what matters here in this next section. But first, I want to do another giveaway.
All right.
We've got another question. If you want to be entered for a giveaway, then you just have to ask some questions. That's how it works. So Michael Crisp, you are the winner, and you've got this question.
Right.
What kind of apps or software do you use for a social content calendar? Great question.
Yeah.
Andrew, what are some of the great tools that you've used?
Well, here's what I use. And again, just like I said earlier, all this is contextual, right? So think about your context. If you're just starting out, what I recommend to a lot of people, and I just moved to Fishers, I'm helping out with a church plant here, and I'm like, all right, we're going to use Creator Studio on Facebook. And a lot of people are like, what's that? Maybe you've heard of Buffer or Hootsuite. A lot of people don't even know there's a free scheduler within Facebook called Creator Studio. It's, like a lot of things Facebook do, it can be a little wonky. So you do have to, give it a little grace and work with it. But there's a lot more options there. At some point, you need to get used to that, because whether you use the other software I use is called CoSchedule. You can see a full content calendar of what's visually coming up. So that's why I love it. There's a bunch of other ones out there. Sprout Social is what I hear a lot of people love as well. But you're going to have to use Creator Studio at some point, because there is the only place you can use certain things like auto-generating Facebook captions or optimizing titles, stuff like that. So get one way or another, get used to Creator Studio. Check out CoSchedule if you want a cheaper one, or a little more expensive would be Sprout Social. And then also don't underestimate Google Sheets, a place where everyone can, come see stuff that's coming up if you organize it correctly. It takes a little work on the front end, but that's another avenue as well.
Awesome. Great answer. I got a gift card head your way, Michael. And as we move forward here, we're going to talk about analytics and numbers. And for those of you that haven't asked any question, go ahead and throw a question in there. When it comes to numbers, I know that we have a lot of questions when it comes to numbers. I'm talking to a lot of friends across the country in this season of COVID. No, we're not doing gatherings at 25% or 50%. And I ask them, how are you doing? And they're like, I don't know, right? Because it was easy before. I could count how many people were sitting there, and then I could just tell you how I'm doing. Now I don't know. I got this many people logging on. There's like 10,000, there's 1,000, there's 500. How do you make sense of those numbers? When looking at analytics, though, Andrew, what matters the most then when we go to track?
Yeah. And I will say this a few times, and I'll say up front just to kind of get, calm your fears. Choose something and stick with it and keep it consistent. You don't have to make it overcomplicated, because we all see all these different stats. And if you ever actually open up Facebook Insights, there's a million different things you could track. You're just like, what is going on? So I'll give you some quick ones that I use for most cases. Again, it's contextual. So if you're trying to get a different objective, maybe you measure something else. Like, for example, if you want people, it's an engagement post. For that post specifically, you'd probably want to see how much engagement you get, right? But in general, reach and engagement are the two I would think of. And when you say engagement, that's any action that interacts with your post, especially on Facebook. So if they click on it, they do a link click, they like it, comment, maybe they love it, angry face, whatever. That's counting for an engagement. What I actually do is, and then on Instagram too, weigh the things that are important to you for that engagement. So on Instagram, I care more about people saving our posts and sharing them, because that's more important than just double tapping and keep scrolling, right? That means they invested some time in it. So put a multiplier on it. But whatever it is, do it consistently. And then here's a quick little formula you can take. Engagement divided by reach. Boom, there's your engagement rate. So of all the people this post reached, because not everyone who follows you is guaranteed to see this post, but also people who don't follow you might see it. All those individuals, those unique individuals, how many of those people engaged with it? Now you're going to be able to tell what type of content is more engaging with your audience. So you have reach individually, you have engagement, those are important, but then do that formula and stick it on there as a third. Check it in a Google Doc if you want. There's an easy way to get started with analytics.
And just stay consistent. And that, again, is a principle that should apply across the board, right? I remember when we first started our church, we had 2 services. We were in a movie theater, and everyone was like, do we count the band? Do we not count the musicians? Do we count people? What about our volunteers? And just at the end of the day, let's pick. And then let's just measure the same every week. And because it was like, this person doesn't think we should count these people. This person thinks we should count. No, just measure the same, stay consistent, because the goal isn't just to take over the universe. The goal is just to see, are we getting better? Are we growing in our influence? Are we growing in our reach? So just stay consistent. I love that.
Yeah, and ultimately conversions are going to matter most, right? And there's a joke in there for sure.
That'll preach.
But,
Glory.
But the people that are taking the action that you want them to take. So yeah, if you want to go to an event, how many people came to that event? And you can track that in certain ways. We'll get into paid here in a second. But maybe it's you want people to do 60 seconds of prayer in the middle of the day. Well, how many people watched your video for that length of time for that post? That's a conversion into a spiritual practice, right? But you can track all those things in a Google Sheet. Just like I said, if you want, you can even go into Facebook's and set up within Insights a custom view of reach, engagement, and then take those numbers and do with them what you will. Do it consistently, or even if you are checking out one of those social media apps we were talking about earlier, like CoSchedule, Express Social, they have tracking in there built in automatically. And if that works for you, great. You just saved yourself some time. For me, for a lot of people, you want certain analytics and they value what they value, so you can't tell them what to value. So it's a little bit of a bummer. So I like doing it by pulling it from the platform itself, putting it in a Google Sheet. But there's actually a free resource that we have to go into this. So again, maybe you're hearing all this stuff and you're like, man, this is great, but also I kind of don't care, reach, engagement, man, these are a lot of numbers. You want to go ahead and check out Making Sense of Your Online Numbers. It's a free white paper that we have for you. The link is going to be in the chat. Again, we'll also be emailing this out, and it's available on our website. This is a resource that kind of goes over all these things I just talked about, even more in depth, and what numbers matter most.
I love that. And I'll tell you what, there's got to be a lot of questions about it. You mentioned Facebook being a little bit wonky, and I'm a fan, but I don't think I've ever logged in twice to those ads managers and had them look the same. So, but it's always evolving. So that means that we will always have more and more questions. And I think that's, for me, is a key. You're going to have to just become a learner. Learner of ever evolving language of communicating with people. And I know that you were talking about converting, you were talking about setting up conversion metrics. Like you want somebody to begin to download your prayer guide or participate in this spiritual event or connect or attend. That's the key to this. This whole webinar isn't just about how to post or you should be online. It's about how to actually take your mission there and how to engage with people there, because they're there more. And that's just, you mentioned going into TikTok, and I could feel some people like, oh, I don't know, and maybe that's not for you. But to me, I want to go where God's calling me, but I want to go where people are. I want to go where the people are that God's calling me to. And right now, people are on social media, for better or for worse. They're there. And so now we can take, take some questions, actually. And we got another giveaway here. And I don't know if we have any questions that have come in about tracking. Go ahead and ask any question you have about what to track and when to track. Maybe Andrea has a question, and I've got a giveaway.
Yeah, well, I hear a question from a lot of pastors, and we heard it, I think, especially when we transitioned to this church online environment. How do I track my online views? What number kind of makes sense, right? Again, like you were saying, there's X amount of people in a room. Well, that's how many people came to my service. But on live streams, there's 3-second views, 10-second views, all these different numbers, right? It can get really overwhelming. And we talk about this in the guide, so definitely check it out. But the way that I've seen that tracked by a lot of churches consistently is unique IP addresses. So if you're using the church online platform or a number of other streaming services, you'll get the unique IP addresses that came to your church. And this is a little bit of the nitty gritty, but that's okay. Good. Because a lot of people just want that answer, right? Here's the answer. If this is one way to do it again, unique IP addresses, and then do a multiplier. 1.5 times or 1.7 is what I hear most churches using. We use 1.7. But what that does, maybe there's a family watching around the TV. That's one IP address, right? So you want to account for that, but also not go overboard. Through a lot of people who are a lot smarter than me, they're doing the math. They recommend 1.5 or 1.7 times your unique IP addresses. So I would definitely try that out if you're still a little confused on how to measure the success of the people coming to your live stream on a Sunday.
Yes, multipliers. And here's our giveaway. Our next giveaway goes to Jared T. Not a question, but a joke. He says, that's just pastor math. Let's just pastor math it, right? All right. Yes, Jared, pastor math is real. We're going to add a multiplier to that. However many IP addresses, and we're going to multiply it. 1.7. Some of you heard 4.7. That's fine. Just keep it consistent.
I think the pastor math would be, you get that number, it's 757. Oh, that's like 800, right? Yeah.
I don't know. That's a very generous pastor math. We love. I've been a pastor. My math was better than adding 3 to every 357. But thank you. Hey, so we're going to talk about maybe one of the most expensive parts of this conversation, and that's the paid ads. So if you have questions about paid ads, we want to give time at the end, or if you have questions about any of the above at the very end, we're going to have a open Q&A session. So drop those questions in there. Do one more giveaway. Now that we've covered content, tracking, ministry, and mission statement fulfillment online, let's jump into that realm, if you will, of paid content. And maybe you can help us clear some of that fog, Andrew.
For sure. This is something that I think a lot of people need some demystifying to happen, because here's what happens when I talk to most people, even not just church leaders, about paid for social. Oh, you want to boost some posts? Okay. Like I see the boost button that pops up. Facebook's telling me this post, and it seems like every post is performing 90% better than all my other posts. That's crazy. I should boost it, right? Maybe. But here's the kind of short, quick answer. I would almost never boost posts and do your paid stuff through Facebook Ads Manager. You can boost some stuff. Maybe there's a lot of really good conversation happening. You want more people to have some great conversation. Go ahead. That's great. But where I would invest most of your time and resources would be Facebook Ads Manager. So I would go ahead, and you might not even know what that is. Facebook.com/ads manager, or Google it. Get yourself set up in there. But once you're in there, you can this is the reason it's so good. You can optimize for the thing that you want to happen. So if you want people to go to a landing page about your upcoming Christmas services, you can optimize for link clicks. You can optimize for landing page views. Or if you get a little fancy, you can put a Facebook pixel on there and optimize for leads. The people who actually filled out your plan a visit form on your website, they're coming to your church. Great. Let's get some more people like that in our area. You can optimize for all those things, and you can tell how well you're doing. When you boost stuff, it's like, all right, you reached this many people, you paid this much money. Okay, well, what happened? For this, you're paying X amount for X result. So, for example, for link clicks, the industry average is $1. Maybe you're getting it for 50 cents per link click. So you know that your ad is doing great. This is some content that's resonating with people. They want to click through and find out more. You're doing a good job and using your church's or your organization's resources widely. And you can get way more in depth, but I'm going to give you a way right now to just get started with Facebook ads today. And after I go through that real quick, you're going to be able to get a free resource. What's called the selfie video ad strategy. This is just a selfie video with your cell phone. Everyone has it, right? Super easy. Get in a well-lit place. Don't look down like this. And I have a certain script we're actually going to send you. It's going to be in the chat. Jeremy will have it there for you. But there's an outline and a script you can follow that's going to get people interested in your video, asking them, can I ask you a personal question? Maybe you saw that ad and you signed up for this webinar because I asked you that question and we ran those ads and we had people sign up for the webinar from it. It's really easy way to get started with Facebook ads through link click ads. You can do it whether you do social all the time, or whether you're, just kind of feeling it out and you want to get started. This is an easy way to get into Facebook ads. So check out that free resource. It's really easy to do and you can get started on Facebook ads today.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would say when it comes to boosting posts, if you have the budget, boosting a post that's already performing well, sure. But like Andrew said, I wouldn't put all my eggs in that basket, and I wouldn't just count on that. Now, I would also say, just as an illustration of all this, what we're talking about, if you really want to take the time and plan far ahead, is you can create even a salvation, a spiritual journey funnel where you have all the people in the world out there, right? And now you're going to create an engaging content for them, which you're already creating. You've got great messages development, whether you're a thought leader or an author and you're listening, or you're just a part of a really fantastic organization, or maybe you are part of a church. You have really great content, and what you can do is you can get that out there. And that might be boosting a post. You can also take that content, create a landing page where people can go to that page and engage with the content. Maybe create a meme generator there, or a graphic generator that they can engage with. They could put in what their response would be, and it would create an image for them. Now they're sharing your story and their story. And then maybe even a call to action to the rest of that content. The beauty of that, when you create that landing page and you're using all that Andrew's talked about so far, and you add in that landing page, now you can take some social media ads and do some retargeting ads. Right? Andrew, just tell us a little bit, a quick commercial for some retargeting ads.
Yeah. So, and like Jason was saying, a salvation funnel, like you hear that funnel language a lot for marketing, but why can't we use it for the church? You're getting people closer and closer to the objective. And hopefully, for most churches or most organizations in this line of work, it's changing lives, right? And to lean into the kingdom. So if someone, they were a new visitor to your church, they said, hey, I'm a new visitor. Here's, you'd be like, here's your gift basket. You wouldn't just say, okay, bye. I hope you come back. Maybe you would, most churches reach out. Maybe they have a text automation set up or email automation set up, or they have, maybe your small church, the pastor calls every single new person, whatever it is. Do that same thing on social. It's that mindset, replicating what you do already on social media. So retargeting ads, you're just doing that. Someone comes and visits this landing page, or maybe you create an audience that's about people who have engaged with your Facebook or Instagram. Well, now you can create a piece of content with a custom audience of retargeting people that have done a specific action, again, landing page or engagement, and you can serve them some content that has that in mind. So it's not like, oh, hey, new person that's never seen us before. Oh, okay, no, this person knows who we are. Now I'm asking them to take another step. Have you planned your next visit? You would love to know, people to plan some more visits to your church, right? Or even what Jason said at the start there is one of the coolest opportunities, I think, for churches. We've been helping some people do this, and I did it at my last church, a salvation funnel, salvation experience where whether you're awake or not, in the middle of the night, someone could make a decision for Jesus, where maybe you put it on all your messages, you have it on your live stream. When someone indicates they want to take a step towards God, they get taken to a landing page with what it means to follow Jesus, what it means to not follow Jesus, and the problems that he solves, and gives them that prayer to pray on their own. And then a form for them to follow up with your church leader. And boom, now you're in a relationship with them. You just changed a life using these marketing tools, but now you're using them to build the kingdom.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And in fact, we have, Jessica asks, curious if we have stats on people that came to church based on social media posts. I don't have the stats, but I have a story, all right, which is not nearly as scientific, Jessica, but I'm going to give it anyway. We had a client who wanted to talk about quitting life-controlling addictions in inner city Philadelphia, and they had a message series, and we were several months out, and we were helping them with the promotion of that. But instead of just promoting, so let's create a landing page and what are you going to teach on each week? And could you capture a really compelling video, but not just inviting people in, but actually giving away the content, give away the encouragement on the video. They created that. We created the landing page. We began to market to everyone who went there. When they went there, it generated a little thing that they were willing to quit. The people that went to that site. At the very bottom, there was also an email capture where people would give their email in exchange for an ebook that the pastor had written about resources for quitting life-controlling addictions if somebody was really struggling. Several people filled out the thing. We also posted each of the messages throughout the month. It was the month of October. The church was just a couple years old. They were running 350 average attendance prior to that 1 month. During that month, their attendance went up to 550 and never came back down below 500 ever again in the life of the church. Now, there's a lot more going on in a healthy church than just one message series. We know that. but the engagement, the connection, that what Andrew just outlined, that did absolutely start on social media, but not just in a way that was boosting a post, but that was engaging with the audience, that was talking, was sharing content and sharing one another's stories and bringing them closer and closer and closer into relationship, that absolutely they began to attend. So I think, man, we could probably do a whole nother webinar just on that, on a really great funnel and a really, really great targeting and retargeting, marketing ads, Google spins, all of that. And so, man, great stuff. Great question, Jessica. And we're going to go into, in fact, Jessica, you are the winner of our question answer time at the end of that section. You asked a great question, and you get a gift card for that. We've got a couple other questions. If you have any questions for us, as we're going to go into this last section here, we'll spend a couple more minutes together, just doing a little bit of Q&A. So, but congratulations, Jessica Davis, and please go ahead and anyone fill out some questions in there. Urban Islands. I'm guessing this is my man, Steve Pike. He says, how many social media experts does it take to change a light bulb? And I am so glad you asked that, Steve. And let me just say this, while you have that graphic and their name on the screen, huge fans of what God is doing through the Urban Islands Project. We're just so privileged to partner with them, ArtSpeak is, in creating an online church plant community. If you're interested at all, man, I tell you what, in the email that we'll send out with all of the links that we've mentioned today, we're also going to send a link inviting you, and maybe we'll even throw in a few months free to this conversation that is, if you're a church planter or thinking about being a church planter, or just want to encourage church planters and be a part of the conversation of what 21st century ministry looks like, you got to connect with the Urban Islands Project, and we'll send out a link where you can do that on their online community. But to answer your question, Steve, great question. To answer that question, it's a far lower number than you might think, because Andrew and I have multiple light bulbs shining on our face right now, all of which we set up on our own. So the answer is one social media expert per light bulb. So it's far lower than you would imagine. But Leslie asks, I've learned from multiple sources that posting once per day is optimal on Facebook for engagement. Any suggestions on that? Great question, Leslie.
Yeah, I would go back to kind of what we were talking about with analytics, where it's be consistent, and also what I mentioned previously, consistent variety. So determine your bandwidth, first of all, because if you're posting every day a week, but it's meaningless content, you're really going to be training your audience to not engage with your content. Like, oh, this is something I should ignore. That's kind of the idea, again, behind not just doing join us. When they're scrolling and they see your name pop around, it's like, oh, it's, this church asking me to join something again. You don't want it to just be that. So you want to have consistent variety, but you can have some consistency in there. So you determine your bandwidth maybe allows you to post every day of the week. Great. Make sure you have a team and time to support that. A lot of churches or a lot of people just starting out, I oftentimes have people start 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's a great rhythm to start out with, or maybe Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, depending on, your bandwidth and the way you can post content. But figure out what that bandwidth is first, of resources that you have, and if you can actually support posting meaningful content that often. But set that goal and do it for a certain amount of time. Maybe you do it 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I would say 3 to 4 weeks would be ideal, and see out of those what pieces of content is resonating more with your audience. You're going to get some engagement on there, and then you'll start seeing what type of content means the most to your audience. You can do more content within that genre, so to speak. So it's not necessarily, a lot of people are saying, oh, this Facebook hack or this Instagram hack or whatever it is, 5 easy steps, you're going to be able to post 5 times a week. We do try to make it easy to learn and understand, but there's no just, silver bullet or quick answer besides the mindset of this is a place you're doing ministry. So make your content revolve around that, and then think about your bandwidth. So post a certain amount of times a week, yes, consistently, then reevaluate later on. And then, the more you can post meaningful content, the better, but it's going to be actually detrimental to you if that content is meaningless.
Yeah, and that doesn't matter how long or how short the content is. If it's not valuable to people, then it's going to cause disengagement. We've all
Yep.
not wanted to watch a 15-second commercial before, but we've all probably paid good money to see a 3-hour movie before. So if it's adding value and it's connecting with your audience, post it. I love that. Get consistent. I mentioned a story, Andrew, in answer to Leslie's question about people coming to church from social media posts. Maybe you have some experience with that as well.
Yeah, Jessica's question, curious about the stats on people that come to church from social media. There's no study I'm aware of that's like, hey, this many people come to church because of social media. It's good, but you are actually going to be able to discover what that is for your own context if you're able to kind of work within that Facebook ads platform that I was talking about. So when you have a pixel on your website, you can measure the actions taken and you can track a user journey across your social media platforms, across the internet. So if, for example, you have a plan your visit page set up, and if you don't, that would be a great next step for you to be able to track this sort of statistic. But if you have a plan your visit page set up, well, now you can optimize your ads for what most people would call that would be leads. So people that go through your plan your visit page, fill that out and click that, plan your visit button. They send their email to you, whatever process you have. I'd recommend some sort of process that allows you to personally engage that person. So they show up. It's the Jones family. Oh, hey, Jones family, we're waiting for you. Here's a gift. Great. And then this is where your kids are going to go. Or maybe it's on a Sunday. You have your host, your chat moderator, keeping an eye out for them. Like, oh, we're keeping an eye out for you. Let me know if you have any questions. But you'll have a number there when you optimize for that says leads, or maybe you customize it and it says plan your visit leads. Then you're going to be able to have a stat of how many people you've driven with your social media toolkit to your church services.
Yeah, and I'd also encourage to think outside of just social media about building that bridge, from seeing a post on social media to driving with the kids all dressed and attending and checking in. Let's just be honest, that might be a big gap for some people. But maybe filling out their email, which is a very common practice, in exchange for something that would be downloadable, like a webinar like we're doing today, or like I mentioned, an ebook that would be about the same kind of content. I think this is an opportunity that we have. I know Highmark Church, where Andrew attends in Fishers, my friend Don Champion, the pastor there, he began to just facilitate that email and email people out resources. And here's what I talked about. Here's what I'm going to talk about. Here's things going on in Fishers. He was having people show up that already felt like they were a part because they had been following along via social and via email for several weeks before they made that decision to get in the car and drive. And that's what we're talking about, doing ministry there. Yeah. So people can have the content there. They can have it. And for me, as we wrap up here, like this is so important. I feel I've never been to heaven, but I can imagine, what if in eternity, the Apostle Paul asked me about the internet. And he's like, I had papyrus and a boat. How many people could you communicate to? How often? How fast? And I feel like there's a responsibility on each and every one of us, which is so important. It's so important when we think about exactly what we just taught about here today, how to have the mindset that social media is a ministry. We can fulfill our mission statement online. When we think about our content, having that mindset. And now how do we take the content we're already producing? Such good stuff, Andrew. Thank you for bringing it to us. How do we measure consistently? Figuring out some tools. We got some downloadable stuff that we'll send you, and then unraveling that mystery of the paid content. In fact, so I just want to wrap up today. We have, like I mentioned, a super inexpensive resource for you. It's a social media audit. Really get behind the scenes, get in your mind, 30 to 60 minute one-on-one discovery with Andrew or somebody on Andrew's team here at Art Speak Creative. We're going to put together a guide for you, actual, very specific to you, and that analysis of your current metrics and what you're currently measuring. We're going to talk about platform-specific ideas for your channels, Instagram and Facebook, like Andrew mentioned, absolutely, but also more. If you're trying to, get into some of those emerging conversations, we want to help you. We're going to give you at least 3 walkaway specifics to your channels to level up your social media game. For you today, that's it's $150. And I know some of you that are watching and are a part of this are some of our clients. You're welcome to use your hours towards that. I will say that this $150 is going to be a cheaper way to access that. This is the cheapest we'll ever offer this, in fact. But we want to, for all of you, thank you for taking your time. We're going to send out a link with that available. Jeremy can drop it in the comments right now, but I will say that that'll last 1 week. So that link will last 1 week, and then that price, we'll still offer that, but probably in more of a retainer-based model like we normally do. But we wanted to give everyone an equal opportunity. $150, you're going to get all that's listed there in a social media audit, complete diagnostics of, a 30 to 60 minute discovery call with Andrew or another social media strategist on our team, just to talk about who are you and who are you communicating to and what you're currently doing and what those current hurdles are, so we can understand it. We're going to look into, give insight. You're going to have a downloadable social media optimization guide. That'll be a resource that you can apply anytime, all the time. And then a very specific to you analysis of your current metrics and what you're measuring. That right there, if you've had a question during the analytics part, but you didn't even know what question to ask, right? That question, that part of this experience is going to be the money worth it right there. Platform specific ideas for Instagram, Facebook, and more. And at least 3 actionable points, things that you can do to optimize, to take your ministry. That's what we're talking about. Not just your social media. We're talking about taking your ministry. We're talking about taking your business, your message, your mission to the next level. We hope absolutely that we did that today. Again, that link will be sent out. Everyone today, we're going to follow up with some links to a lot of the resources that we just talked about: social volunteers, blog posts, the white paper on making sense of your online numbers, Facebook ads, selfie video script. Everybody watching, you're going to get an email with all these links. You'll also have the link in there again for that. That'll be good for 1 week, to the social media audit link. Also, any other responses that we want people to take, Andrew? What else can they do?
Yeah, I just really want you to take that mindset. If you just take one thing away from this, have the mindset of this is a place to do ministry. So whether it's you doing this or there's someone on your team doing this for you, you're not just someone that's just posting posts or generating content. You're changing lives with what you're doing. We'd love to help you with that. So if you have other questions or if you want to check out those resources, definitely check them out. But definitely just take that away today. You are doing ministry online. Don't waste the opportunity. It's important. God's doing some awesome things through you. And I'd encourage you, as you move forward, take some of these things. You can start doing them today. You'll start seeing some awesome results. And if you need any help, just let us know. But again, the encouragement is you're doing something awesome because you are bringing people into the kingdom and God's doing something through you.
Come on. Thank you guys so much for joining us, right? Join us. Hey, you joined us. Thank you so much for doing that. Feel free to like and comment and share. This is an ongoing conversation. We're all learners. We just want to take this message, your message, and help you reach more people. We want to reach more people. We're all a part of the kingdom, and we just want to see that advance in our generation using the tools of today. Like Andrew said, you're doing it. You're world changers. You're life changers. Some of you are going to experience some growth in this. I no doubt. Keep an eye out for even more free resources when you follow along on our channels. But again, I'll tell you what, if you're struggling with what to post, you could post a word of encouragement. So I just want to end with a word of encouragement, just like Andrew just did. You are a world changer. You're a thought leader. I think people need encouragement more than they need food. And I like to eat. All right. But listen, I think you're a world changer. You're a future shaper. I think the church that my children and grandchildren after I'm gone get to inherit is going to look a smidge more like Jesus because of you, because of your message, your business, your ministry, and because of your willingness to take and adapt it online to fulfill that mission statement. So thank you for investing in yourself by being a part of our webinar today. Peace.